I apologise, the last video was interrupted by a phone call from Barry Tebb, urging me to go in at the end of a hard day's work outside Manor Apartments. To bring this claim, this preposterous claim, that I have in any way interfered with his workforce would be an intended perjury if this came to court. It's also a kind of malicious, an intended malicious prosecution. It's also slander, and it's at least guilty of wasting police time yesterday. The poor community-based constable was so affected by the gravity of it all that it quite alarmed me, because this was the same constable, community constable, that was with me after the burglary, and he really hated having to sort of put me through the sort of ropes as a kind of formal, informal caution, as it were. He's a lovely man. But at the end of the day, it is their word against mine. And all I can do is say that, well, the YouTube videos show my presence, the camera recording of my presence there. My presence outside the doors of the flats would only have been precipitated by an event of slab drilling, which would mean that if I went to the doors, up the stairs, to the various floors, the slab drilling would have drowned out any noise that I could have made at the door. I have never crossed a threshold. The doors are usually closed, sealed off. If one or two were open, I managed to get a photograph of the gutted shell remaining of the said flat. The only encounter between us has been with Pat last week, who tried to get into my flat and I refused, and I put that on YouTube, that encounter on YouTube. I simply stood my ground and asked him to stand back because he was too close to my face. That's the encounter between us. That was last week. By Friday of last week, rubble was falling down again, and I sort of knocked on the office door, I think for the first time, and said, rubble is starting again. And this lovely man said, I think he was Indian, he said, it's coming down because we're repairing it now. And he was so sweet that I was forced to say, you're a great improvement on Pat, I must say. And that was what took place between us. 3 days ago, there was a massive breach of the calming order by slab drilling. Before the calming order finished at 12, I knocked on the office door for the first time this week, when I knocked last Friday, about the riser and the rubble. I was met by Pat coming out of the door. I said, you're in breach of the calming order. There's slab drilling going on. His answer to me was, we're not slab drilling, and he walked away from me. I said, how dare you breach a calming order imposed by the council? And my neighbour at the back of me in flat 1 heard the encounter. There was nothing untoward there. I have never spoken to another workman apart from the Indian guy last week and Pat 3 days ago. I don't know what you can do with a calming order if it can't be policed with noise meters. Really, they should have put the noise meters in when they imposed the calming order, and it wouldn't have been left to me to simply try to get them to keep to the calming order, which was an impossibility. I came out here outside the block only when I could not do this anymore. 3 weeks ago, it was as though they laid aside that calming order and breached it repeatedly. Trying to go upstairs through the block to police it wore me out entirely. I was left with no choice at all except to come here with my placard and my protest and try to get local opinion, try to mobilise local opinion about slab drilling in general. Since my protest began, the heat has begun. But it does occur to me that they have a contract which is 6 months to do 12 flats. We are exactly halfway through, and if they adhere and keep to the noise order, they won't finish this work. Maybe there's a penalty clause at the end of the 6 months that Stoneforce would have to pay. I don't know. But the heat has certainly stepped up or come down on me since I came out 3 days ago to stand here for 8 hours a day with a placard about what is going on at Manor Apartments. Polly from the Ham and High has been out and taken photographs in an absolute deluge of rain. There's been a lot of people. The man in flat in address number 4, Blenheim Terrace, called Mark, has been very supportive. Dean across the road at Abbey Court, who works for the World Service and can't get any sleep himself across the road because there's slab drilling in the flat above him. Another man came by and said, it's money, isn't it? The whole thing stinks. One person against multinationals, and it's all about money. It's not about anything else. It's as though I live here and I'm not a tenant here. It's as though I'm guilty of some kind of trespass in my own home. My neighbours have been a little bit better. They've actually ventured out and tried to sort of say that it's very difficult for them as well. And one of those neighbours reported slab drilling in the quiet period yesterday, but they will phone the noise team. They don't want to get involved. And when the Ham and High come to do their article, they probably will stay silent. It's down to me and to Rob upstairs, who's a barrister. But strangely enough, they're not taking any kind of action against him because he's a barrister. I'm seen as a soft target, but they don't know me and they don't know Barry. Someone said on Facebook today they won't be able to wear Barry out. We're both seasoned campaigners and I can cope with this. What saddens me is the brutality of it all. That lives can go to the wall for money. That they are prepared to perjure themselves. Well, let's say the managers would want their staff to perjure themselves. Whether the workforce will be prepared to do that is another matter. I doubt so. I doubt it. That they would be prepared to impose a completely ill-conceived restraining order on a 64-year-old poet and protester for money at the end of the day appalls and horrifies me. They don't know that I'm recovering from a ruptured bowel, so their sort of allegations that I'm some kind of physical threat to the slab drills in progress, they don't know how weak I am and how stupid that argument will be found to be. I'm so grateful to YouTube for being able to record what has happened recently. I'm grateful to Facebook and to Susan St. John and to John Hurst for their words of encouragement today. I'm grateful for a girl from Brazil who came up to me and said, thank God someone stands out and is prepared to stand there with a placard. She said, you know, it's only the young people in Brazil that are prepared to do anything like that. So it's been a lovely day, a hard day, and my back's gone, and my cats have missed me. But I'm here for the duration. If I've got to be here for 3 months, I'll be here. I'll see these people off. And I don't think any court will give them a restraining order. What they want is to silence truth. That's what is on trial here. The truth of what is going on here at Manor Apartments. To give Bruce Ritchie his due and residential land, I don't blame them. This is Stoneforce. This is Stoneforce alone. Bruce Ritchie has never been one for calling the police. I do respect him for that. I once occupied one of his flats for 2 hours when he could have called the police and he didn't. This is Stoneforce. Stoneforce are responsible for the situation that I find myself in today. All I can say at the end of the week is thank God it's Friday.